The Quiet Revolution was a time of very fast change to political, economic, social, and cultural aspects of Quebec. It took place mostly between 1960 and 1966 because that is when the major events of this revolution happened. In Quebec, it was definitely a revolution, but more in the sense that pretty much everyone was on the same page and all wanted the same changes. It was carried out very calmly, peacefully, and with more moderation than you'd expect when you hear the word revolution. The Quiet Revolution, without intention, follows the Freytag story pyramid pattern, which contains an introduction or exposition, rising action, the climax, falling action, and the resolution, where in this case it's more of a legacy and significance. This story starts post-World War II. Maurice Duplessis is currently the Premier of Quebec and the leader of the Union National Party. He is going to be the antagonist in this story, not because he is an evil or a bad person, but only because he is opposed to a majority of the things that are eventually going to happen during this revolution. Under his power, Quebec is stuck in traditional and old ways. Duplessis believes that the churches should solely take care of the social and cultural parts of Quebec, and he doesn't want to intervene with economic aspects very much either. Quebec is also fairly isolated from the rest of Canada, partly because of events that have happened in the past, like conscription, but Duplessis has also prevented a relationship between this province and the federal government in Ottawa. This keeps going on for another 15 years, and now we have encountered our rising action. There are three major things that make up this part of our story: Paul Sauvé and the 100-Day Revolution, Pour une Politique by Georges-Émile Lapalme, and the impertinences of Brother Anonymous. It is 2 days after Duplessis' passing on September 7, 1959. Paul Sauvé has been appointed the new Premier of Quebec until there is an election. He is a part of the Union National Party. Sauvé is promising to carry on Duplessis' legacy, but has made it very clear that he is going to be doing things very differently. About 100 days later, it is his last day as Premier, and Quebec has changed a whole lot in a short period of time and is now going down a very different path. Everything Sauvé has done and started is what Duplessis had rejected and was opposed to. There are now laws in favor of the people. Workers are getting increased pay and better working conditions, education has been greatly promoted and encouraged, and minimum wage has been raised. Sauvé has also agreed to hospitalization insurance and the construction of the Trans-Canada Highway. He has definitely helped kick-start major change in Quebec. Continuing in 1959, Georges-Émile Lapalme has written Pour une Politique. He was the leader of the Liberal Party of Quebec from 1950 to 1958. This is a reflection on his time in the position and about what he learned and what he thinks needs to change. He is in support of what Paul Sauvé is doing as Premier. Pour une Politique has not been published publicly, but several copies have been seen by Quebec politicians, and it has inspired them to be advocates for this change. Our last major piece of rising action is also in the form of writing. It is now 1960, and The Impertinences of Brother Anonymous has been published. The actual name of the author of this book is Brother Pierre Jerome, who was a teacher. The book contains what he believes should be happening in Quebec through evolving and changing, and his views are very opposed to those of the late Maurice Duplessis. This book has already taken a huge effect on Quebecers' opinions and their way of thinking. Now we have reached the climax, the pivotal point of the story. The Liberal Party, under Jean Lesage's leadership, has just won the 1960 election. Lesage is the new Premier of Quebec. He can be considered as the leader of the protagonists in this story. You might be asking, why is this the climax? Well, the antagonists, Maurice Duplessis and the Union National Party, are out of the picture, and now everyone is on the same page. So, the Liberals winning is a major turning point because things are definitely going to change and go in favor of the protagonists. Everything can now fall into place. It is now 1970, and as you see, there have been many things that have happened that have changed the face of the province. Quebec has also started opening up more to Canada and the rest of the world. Two major things that have helped this are the Official Languages Act of 1969 and Expo 67 in 1967. The falling action hasn't been smooth sailing throughout, but overall things are looking good for Quebec. We are now at the resolution, and in this case the significance of the story. The Quiet Revolution is a very important part of Quebec's history. It was a time for Quebecers to discover themselves and what they really wanted their province to become. Quebec has grown, changed, and evolved into a different and improved province, and it is now more a part of Canada than ever before. This brings us to the end of the story of the Quiet Revolution.